Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestle Horror. Greetings, viewers and listeners. Meat Hook Jim here. My co-host, Donnie Hoover. Donnie, how's it going?
Oh, doing good. How you guys doing?
And on this episode of Wrestle Horror, I reached out to some friends. They love wrestling, they love horror, and their business kind of incorporates both. We'll get to that in a little bit later. I'm talking, of course, about Tabitha Barron, Josh Overturf, Composite CFX. Guys, how are you tonight?
Doing excellent tonight, guys. How are you guys doing?
This guy, I know him well.
A lot of energy.
Just a little bit.
So, we were talking recently on the Big Scary Show, and I mentioned that we had this podcast, Wrestle Horror, and I've watched your posts about the WWE over the years. So it's like,
I don't post so much on social media. I'm just yelling in the background going, yeah, say, tell them this.
So I figured you guys would be great to talk to, and we'll get to the AEW thing in a little bit. But first of all, what got you interested in pro wrestling?
Well, I'm old school. I started watching wrestling in the 80s. Hulk Hogan, Randy Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, Andre the Giant. That's where I started watching as a kid. And, every kid growing up in the 80s, you were experienced, Hulkamania of some sorts, and that got me into it. And then I had a bunch of friends that were into ECW and some of the hardcore stuff growing up. And so I've had an opportunity to watch every kind of wrestling from independent shows to WWE.
And similarly for me, as a kid, I grew up in the 90s. And so that's when, all the hardcore stuff really started coming out, like NWO and everything. And, Raw's War. So we had the Hardy Boys, Hardy Boys and Lita, is where it really started for me, because Lita was the first badass chick in the ring that wasn't super feminine and super diva, eventually what became divas, and was actually gonna go into the ring and hold her own and would try to wrestle with the dudes and stuff like that. So, and then me and my friends, it was all around the same time I think that Jackass and that kind of stuff started premiering, and so we all got together and did the backyard wrestling, and they had a trampoline, so we were doing stuff on there. We were doing stupid stuff out in the canyon because I grew up in San Diego, so we were just hanging out, doing obscure Jackass and wrestling stuff kind of combined in one. And my passion and my love for it has just kind of grown since then. And I'm glad that I've been able to surround myself with people who are like-minded, who still watch wrestling, who still love wrestling. I have friends who do promotions up in the Bay Area, who do film and photography work for a lot of the matches and stuff up there. So I'm still stuck into it, after all these years growing up. So
right on. It's something that you either like or you don't like. There's no gray area.
Mm-hmm.
And I think on every episode I've said this, and people are probably getting tired of hearing it. But there's a local promotion here in town in Hamilton, Ohio called Future Great Wrestling.
Nice.
And it is the guy who runs the school, the trainer, is Cody Hawk.
Okay.
If you don't recognize that name, he trained Dean Ambrose.
Okay.
And Sammy Callahan. Yep. And Sammy Callahan and Eli Drake. But the wonderful thing is my daughter is taking his school. My 24-year-old daughter, she was a month away from graduating when the COVID came down. So it's put on hold, but I get to love vicariously through her.
Yeah.
And she's a badass. I've seen her match.
That's awesome.
But anyway,
I love it. I love supporting women's matches and women's promotions and stuff like that. We've been to a few before we moved out to Louisiana when we lived in the Bay Area. There was a few really good promotions, and Shotzi Blackheart, as a matter of fact, she's on NXT now.
Right.
We went to at least a dozen shows.
We tried to get her to work at our house for a little while.
But yeah, she's an amazing chick, and then she's a phenomenal wrestler. So to see her succeed and excel in NXT right now, it makes me feel good, and I know that she'll make it even bigger when she goes up to WWE, because I know that's happening. I know it will.
Oh, sure. And I got a chance to meet her briefly. I was in Toronto in August for the summit. Okay. And Shotzi was there, and I got a brief chance to meet her, talk to her for a few seconds. And, I've watched her ever since I first discovered her on Shimmer or Rise or wherever I could find her. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, cool. She's in the big time now, right? Yeah. So, what about other promotions? I mean, obviously, again, we'll get to the AEW, but are there any other promotions you like to watch? Do you fill up your week watching pro wrestling? I mean, some people do.
So, I mean, we used to be able to watch a lot more different promotions, like Ring of Honor and New Japan and all that stuff. But these days we can't fill our time watching the shows themselves. We watch a lot of recap shows. Right. But I mean, we like to keep up to date on what's going on, even if we can't directly watch the promotions themselves.
So when we were in the Bay Area, I had a little bit more free time. Yeah. We weren't working with CFX at the time. Okay. I had a nice cushy corporate salary job, so I was able to come home and watch Raw, watch SmackDown, do all of them. I'll be honest with you, the decline of WWE, I started watching less and less of the live shows and more of the recap shows. Okay. And then I crossed my fingers when AEW was going to come out. We made sure we watched all the beginning AEW shows. But honestly, we're super busy at Composite Effects right now, and so it's a little bit hard to sit and watch as much as we used to. Also, we don't know of any of the local, we're here in the South. So we're trying to learn where all the good local promotions are. And I want to just get a live show, and then obviously we're in the situation that we're in now.
So we just get to watch rematch or old matches. But it is what it is. So
sure.
We like to keep up to date on all the promotions. Like I said, my friends are back in the Bay Area. They keeping me up to date on what was going on up there with the different promotions like Gold Rush and Big Time Wrestling and all that stuff. So we like to keep abreast. We like to see who's fresh.
Sorry.
And all that good stuff. But we kind of watch it all. We got a little scoping of everything.
Okay. All right. So this is a tough question that I usually pose to people. We've brought other haunters in before, and when they like wrestling, I have to ask them, favorite wrestler.
Going all time, it has to be The Undertaker. I mean, how do you go wrong on that one? If I had to pick someone other than The Undertaker, that's a tough one. Stone Cold, probably Stone Cold Steve Austin. I grew up watching him. Austin 3:16 was just my anthem for so long. So. And I like who's become now. I do listen to his podcast every once in a while. Not as much as I would like to, but every time I get a chance, I'll sit down and I'll listen to some of his podcasts.
Sure. Okay.
And I think I kind of already said it. Technically, it's Lita. But I mean, Jeff and Matt Hardy, they were fantastic. If we're talking, old school, of course, I love Undertaker. That's every horror goth person's, dream when it comes to wrestlers, to have something as badass as that. But I mean, Sting was a really big icon of mine for a long time. I guess the makeup, I like the obscure stuff. I like the weird stuff. I did like his former persona and stuff like that. I like Macho Man. I like, I guess the golden era, as it were, of wrestling. But, these days, I started not liking Chris Jericho, as a character overall. And then, he disappeared and then came back in WrestleMania a few years ago, and I'm like, oh my God, Chris Jericho, why the hell is he back?
She didn't understand the greatness.
But I love him now, just his whole character arc and just who he is as a person too. Jericho has definitely become one of my favorite wrestling characters and figures, I guess.
Okay.
Did you guys ever get into Georgia Championship Wrestling, like the Four Horsemen and Dusty Rhodes and those kind of guys?
So I did a little bit. I wasn't a big Dusty Rhodes fan, and don't shoot me for that one. And especially now I'm in the South. I was in Southern California. I didn't know any better. I enjoyed it. I actually wasn't that much of a Ric Flair fan for a long time. I was, again, growing up in Southern California. It was all WWE, and maybe that's that's just how it was for me.
Right.
And it wasn't until later that I really started learning about these guys and their legacy. I'll be honest, I was even late to the game for New Japan, all the Japan stuff. I was AJ Styles. I didn't even know who he was for a little while, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, no, you guys got to see this guy, AJ Styles. And then, 2 weeks later, he was part of WWE. So it's like, okay, now I get to see him.
We weren't as up to date on a lot of the NXT stuff, and so that's where that's where a lot of these guys came when they came from Japan, other places. They filtered into NXT before they came up to WWE, and we were focusing on some of that just because it was more mainstream and accessible at the time.
And I had a gap in watching wrestling for a little while. There was a time I was working at all the haunted houses. Mm-hmm. I was just super busy. I was single. It was before Tabitha. And it was funny because starting to watch wrestling with Tabitha, I was scared at first because it was like, oh, what's she gonna think? Let's watch some wrestling. And then she was all into it. So
I grew up. Oh, thanks. I grew up with this too. And similarly, there was a gap when I was in high school because I was doing a lot of different stuff and maybe the beginning stages of college and into when I was working at the Haunted Hotel down in San Diego where we met. There was definitely a few gap years, I guess, that we weren't really watching wrestling, but I always kept up with the sport. I was always aware of what was going on and who was still in it, and even if it was names that I wasn't familiar with, I'm like, oh, okay. And if I kept hearing those names, I was watching a lot of MMA at the time because obviously it was spiking in popularity. But it was really nice. I can't remember exactly what the first wrestling. I think it was WrestleMania when we first moved back up to the Bay Area, where we had friends who were like, hey, do you want to watch WrestleMania? We've got the network. And we're like, sure. And we're like, oh my God, we've been missing out on so much. And so it's really good to get back into it. But
Well, speaking of WrestleMania, did you watch it?
Yes.
Yep.
We missed a few matches here and there because, we were trying to take care of a few things. But yes, overall, the 2-night spread of it, as it were.
So we missed the beginning on Sunday night. We had to go shopping. It was all the stores closed at 8:00.
Right.
And, I've been trying to wait till the last minute. We just kind of run in, grab what we need, and run back out.
Okay.
So we missed we missed Charlotte Ripley. What else did we miss?
Oh goodness. The women.
I think the first two matches we missed.
The ladder match.
Now, my opinion of WrestleMania over the weekend, considering the circumstances, I enjoyed it. There was some interesting things that I think they had a chance to try out that they wanted to try it out if it was still a live show.
Yeah.
My opinions of what was it, the Boneyard?
Yeah, Boneyard match.
The Boneyard Brawl or whatever it was, the Boneyard match. I enjoyed it. I thought I was watching a B action movie at times, but it wasn't bad. I grew up in the 80s, so it was kind of like, all right, they're doing a good job on it.
I have it's one little problem with it, and it's in the graveyard, right? It's a Boneyard match.
Right.
Why was Undertaker being his American Badass character versus his Undertaker character? If he was going to be his American Badass character, Josh was put it in a junkyard or put it in a machine shop, which would have been
motorcycle club bar or something.
Bar, a biker bar. That would have been with pool table. They could have smacked.
Exactly. The setting wasn't right for the character that Taker was portraying, and that really bothered me enough to the fact that I didn't like the match for that. But overall, that there was good wrestling and good angles and cool little surprises and fun little cuts that really that served to that. It
made the Taker look good. I don't like watching Taker wrestle anymore because he's getting older and he doesn't. Again, he was one of my favorite character wrestlers growing up. So I don't like seeing him in an older state, not being able to do the moves that he used to be able to do. And I thought it made him look really good for that.
Overall the match was good, but I have an issue with.
Will I accept that type of match on every pay-per-view from here on out, just so I can see an older character? I'm still torn on that one.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I guess they're calling it cinematic wrestling. And with the Boneyard match and with the Firefly Funhouse segment on Sunday, and then even with Broken Matt Hardy when they did it out at his compound there last year or two ago, What are your guys' opinions on cinematic wrestling? Yeah, if it's not like you just said, maybe once every now and again type of thing, or where
So
it makes
Firefly
sense.
Funhouse, I love that.
Yes.
I got it right from the beginning. I didn't want to see a red light match with John Cena in the Performance Center with no one in the in the stands. I thought it was super clever. I hope that they try other stuff like that, especially with characters like the Fiend. Anything that is kind of weird like that. Yeah, you can take it out a little bit of context, and I think now it'll be accepted a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't think it replaces live wrestling.
Right.
There was a
because
moment
she's got
where
a critique.
I wish, almost opposite the Boneyard match. I wish there was a smidge more actual wrestling that happened.
Like
Not
right
a
at
whole
the
lot.
end, they could have actually done some stuff in the ring.
Yeah. Like
But-
anything that Cena did, though, the Fiend wouldn't have sold. Like it would have just been glancing blows the whole time.
Right.
So Cena still wasn't going to gain any ground, which was going to be obviously the whole end point to that match in the first place.
But it would have been good to see something.
Just to see a little bit more actual wrestling, which I know was a lot of other people's critiques. It's like, oh, that wasn't a match, and they're right, it wasn't. But I appreciated that, and we were also,
it wasn't intended to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of the whole point where, that match happened all in their heads, either the Fiend's head and or Cena's head, whatever. And I like that. I like that whole kind of, cerebral psych-out kind of thing.
And I love the history they covered in there. I mean,
my
the whole
God,
time I'm like,
so good.
shit, here we go, Saturday night, NWO, here we go. Again, I got it, right from the, I'm like, oh, all right, I get what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so by the end of it, I was clapping. I enjoyed it.
It was good.
It was one of those.
Cool.
I was bummed to see that not as many people enjoyed it. Well, I guess it was 50-50 is what I've seen online so far. So what people have liked and what they, some people liked it and totally got it just like me, and other people.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on it, Jim? We've never really talked about that yet either.
Well, overall, I like the idea of doing a cinematic match every once in a while. I mean, maybe twice a year, every quarter at the very most. But, I was thinking about it, and my thought train just derailed.
Mm-hmm.
It went off hard. Oh, my gosh. It was about that match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think cinematic wrestling will work whenever it's needed to move a storyline along or something like that. But I see a space for it in wrestling.
Yep. Well, I know that Lucha Underground used to do vignettes kind of like that, where they would some sort of a match, or they would have a little bit more of a different type of fight go on, and then they would either carry on that storyline back further into the ring, or whatever. I appreciated what they did in that regard, but that's also kind of goes back just to the telenovela that Spanish culture likes anyway. So they were playing into that a little bit more. But there's a time and a place for it, and I think occasionally throwing it in just to spice up, or like you said, move a storyline along. I think there's a place for that.
Okay, I remembered now.
Back.
I'm back. Going back to the cinematic thing and the Firefly Funhouse in particular, I think it was well done for what it was. One thing that I giggled my ass off. And this is some good shit.
Yeah.
I lost it.
Yeah. They acknowledged the meme.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's all the nods that they did to everything, between the Bray's amazing interpretations of all these other announcers, and just going back and replaying and just inserting Cena and Bray's character into all these other segments. I loved it. I thought it was so smart and just so what it needed.
And it seems like creative hasn't really figured out what to do with the Fiend. He's just been all over the place. He's strong at times and he's not strong. And the Seth Rollins match, we're just all his stuff. It's a good way to give him some strength, as a character, make him actually, intimidating to other people. Hey, I'm not going to just go into the ring and beat you. I'm going to, tear you apart from the inside. I'm going to, dissect your brain in this whole matter. And it does it. It gives him a good character. do I still want to see a Hell in a Cell with, the Fiend and whoever he's going, and just some insane stuff we haven't seen in a long time? Yeah, I would prefer that. But I don't mind it, like you guys are saying, to carry that story along and build somebody up.
Well, I think, and this is obviously just my opinion, but they really need to start booking him like they booked The Undertaker.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got that persona. Like, we need to be able to utilize that. Like, let him utilize that.
Right. His presence, I mean, from Husky Harris to now is night and day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And his presence now.
It's sort of for like with Finn Balor and his demon character. Like, yeah, they're the same person, obviously, but I like how you can book them as separate entities, and that's kind of the whole point. It's like, no, like, he's no longer Finn at this point, he's the demon, and you've anchored the demon at this point. Huh? Oh. Yeah. And then so similarly, yeah, with the Fiend, with him, like, Bray being trapped inside, the nice happy Firefly Funhouse, and the Fiend coming out and actually doing what he needs to do. So I appreciate, I guess, split characters like that.
Sure. Too bad CFX couldn't do that mask, huh?
So, I mean,
if they would have reached out to us.
People go to Savini because he has, a good notoriety, and he's got a really good team behind him. So,
I know.
What I feel bad about is the replicas they're selling on WWE.com. Like, oh my gosh, the replica belts or masks are
so expensive.
Well, they're expensive and bad. But yes, so I mean, if somebody would like something similar, they can always reach out to us. But since we don't have it in our catalog, it's something we'd have to kind of work through. But we've gotten a few requests for it. We've gotten a few emails, so it's something that we could do.
Well, we try not to do other people's masks, so.
Sure.
It's a one-off if you want a one-off.
Well, we'll get to that towards the end of this.
Yeah.
And they can find out everything. So let's kind of steer over to. I keep dropping the hint about AEW, and I've taken a little while to warm up to it, but I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I'm an Impact fan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I do watch AEW, Impact, and WWE. Not so much WWE. But anyway, Luchasaurus. Let's just jump right into the meat of it here.
Sure.
Yeah.
For those of you listening or watching here that have seen AEW, you can't miss Luchasaurus. He's 6'5", and he looks like a freaking raptor.
Yep.
Well, the reason he looks like a raptor is because of the company these two work for that are on the screen here, Tabitha and Josh. Let's talk about Luchasaurus. What can you tell us?
Luchasaurus, he was on, as I kind of mentioned earlier, Lucha Underground, as a matter of fact. And I think his character was Vibora on Lucha Underground. And they gave him, it wasn't one of our masks at that time, but a different snake mask. And they're like, we want you to wear this. And so basically he wore that and he modified it a little bit from there. And then once he left the Lucha Underground promotion and he started becoming Luchasaurus, he started becoming, his own character. This was a little bit before me, but he reached out to us. He found us and was like, hey, I see your Viper mask that you have. I see at the time we were doing the face only masks. And he was like, I would love to do this for my wrestling persona. And basically we said, yeah. We worked with him on a little bit of specialized strapping designs, a little bit of custom colors, and we went from there. I think he has
custom horns. Yeah. The mouth is custom and modified.
Yeah, so basically how this one is. And this is, we'll get into this a little bit later too. That's completely something else. But I think he's on his third variation of the mask. He's gone through a few different ones when it comes to different paint schemes and color schemes. But yeah, we sent him his second to last and most recent mask right before AEW actually premiered. And so the mask that you saw him premiere with actually on the Dark Show was an old mask. And then when he premiered for the first time actually on AEW on Wednesdays, he was wearing his new mask. And then he got hurt, he got injured, which was very upsetting. But now he's back. He's here and ready to go. Obviously, we're all kind of in a state of hiatus due to the nature of what's going on right now.
Sure.
We are actually talking with him about doing a custom sculpt. That way it's something completely custom to him. That way it's not something, he can license it, he can sell it, we can do replicas and all that stuff. That way it's not something modified that is a little bit more expensive, you know what I mean? But yeah, we're working with him to get something custom done and get something out there in mass for everybody who wants a Luchasaurus mask.
Right on.
Now, does he have multiples to use, or do you guys just send him one-offs whenever he needs them, or how does that work?
He has 2 working ones right now. Initially, he would have one, and then it was just like he would let us know when he needed the next one, because at the time he was wrestling a lot, but he wasn't wrestling as consistently as he is now, per se. And doing appearances and
Once
stuff
he
like
signed
that,
with AEW, we made sure to just that he had a backup mask on him right off the bat, which was a good thing because he ripped one like the first night.
Yeah.
So
we had sent him one, and his old one ripped, and as we were sending him his second one, he was like, "Okay, perfect, I got the first one," and the second one was on the way, and then he got hurt, but it is what it is. But yeah, so he has one to work with and a backup right now, and that's something that we're definitely making sure we check in on him and be like, hey, how are you doing? How's the mask doing? What do you want to do next? What can you see us doing for you now?
And we actually have at least one other wrestler that we're currently working on a custom design for right now.
He's out of Booker T's Reality Wrestling. So I'm not at liberty to say who it is, but that's the promotion that he was working with, and he is going to return to hopefully once all this is all said and done. So we're working on one with him right now, and then the mask that Josh is wearing is a custom one-off mask that we did, not specifically for a wrestler, but obviously very wrestler
style
design.
I love it.
Yeah. The finished one actually ended up having the black areas right here being tan, so they kind of matched the skin tone of the person who was wearing it.
Okay.
Kind of like Vader. A little Vader.
Yeah, a little bit like Vader. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So Josh likes to wear that one. He likes to have that one in the trunk of the car whenever he just feels like
get the right music on, get a little pumped up.
Yeah. There you
go. Everything else around in the car, which I guess I can't complain.
Every time I have to go shopping, people just get right out of my way.
Social distance, no problem. I signed up for this, so I know what I'm in for.
All right.
So let's talk a little bit more about a Composite effects. That's part of the reason why I brought you guys on here. Silicone masks. You've got such a catalog from when I'm going to bring this up again.
Yeah.
Your catalog has grown so much since I bought this back in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
One of the original meat bags with hair punched in, just for everybody's edifice. Okay. Anyway, what are you guys offering here in 2020? I mean, it's got to be just. I watch your website as much as I can, but it's been a few weeks since I've been there, so I'll let you guys take it.
Yes.
We just released a bunch of new ones.
Yeah, and like you said, we've been in business. CFX has been in business since 2006, was our very first year. And our catalog has grown from 3 original designs, which were the Imp, Belial, and Krusty the Zombie, to we have over 150.
Yeah, 150 custom characters now.
And thousands of ways to customize them. So like you said, you've got the hair on there for that meat bag. And I think we've redesigned meat bag a little bit too. So that's we've updated him a little bit. We've made him a little bit more detailed. The fit's a little bit different. So what we do is
as the years go on, we change the core and the way they fit, and we'll analyze, what can we do to make the mask move better and fit better. And so as the years go on, we're always doing more R&D to make sure that we have the best fitting masks.
Yeah, so new this year, sort of new a little bit last year, but also new this year, we have our Universal lineup, our Universal Monsters.
Universal Classic Monsters.
Yeah, so we have a license with Universal, and last year in July, we unveiled our first 2 masks, which was Frankenstein's Monster, as well as They Live, cult classic They Live, who kind of cycles back into wrestling with Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Yeah. A mask that I've wanted for a long time, so it got moved up the list very quickly.
All right.
But yeah, so we have those 2, which we were going to bring to Transworld this year because the Halloween and Haunt audience hadn't really seen them in person yet. And then brand new in that collection this year was Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Nice.
So one of my favorite Universal Classic monsters, and I know a lot of others as well, Gilman.
And so
super iconic. And so we have them in their
the classic
black and
paint
white
scheme and
Yeah.
black and white.
Absolutely. So it's black and white grayscale. So in most of the classic movies, or in They Live's case with the sunglasses, and also in like a color variant. So for They Live, we have them in that really awesome like vibrant blue, and Creature and Frankenstein are both in that green color scheme and stuff. So we have more Universal stuff coming. We're working on a few other things in the back. We want to do the Mummy. We're hoping to do Phantom of the Opera and all that good stuff. So
Nice.
I'm excited about those.
There's some additional licensing and rights involved in some of those other characters.
Sure.
Universal doesn't outright own the entire character. So we have to work with the families and stuff like that and just make sure that they're good with it. But so far, everything's been very positive, and we're looking to just keep moving on forward.
But we do have a few new original sculpts as well.
Yeah.
So some of our design team, we got together and we're like, okay, we need to bust out a few designs. Our Igor silicone mask is exactly what it sounds like. It's that giant eye. That was designed and sculpted by one of our in-house technicians for the medical side of stuff that we do. Obviously, he needed a little bit of a creative outlet, and I love it because it reminds me of like the Rat Fink, Total Surfer, punk, like 80s vibes. I love it. We did our design a mask contest last year, and so we were finally able to release the winning design for that. That's Vengeance, so that's got like the really cool like sharp angled face with the horn work and stuff like that.
We have a black variant that looks like a xenomorph.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have a Mask of the Month variant on it.
I'm so
that we
excited for
really
that.
make it look just like the
Hopefully
Queen
like
alien.
an alien queen, yeah.
Really excited for that one.
And then we have two other designs that we came out. Yeah, it was a vampire and a demon, and we didn't really have names for them as we were creating them, so we put it out to the public's vote. And we ended up with Rocky the Demon and Barron Overbite for the vampire. And if you see the vampire and you hear his name, you'll understand why. He's kind of got a really like gnarly overbite, let's be honest. But it works. It works for him.
So last year we didn't do a whole lot of horror characters. We were working on the Universal lineup.
A lot of whimsical
we were in a very fantastical, whimsical mode, and so we did like some aliens and this really cool goblin, and then a matching goblin wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
One of our sculptors just came back from working on the new Hellboy movie, so like stonework was really hard in his mind, so that's where Sentinel came from.
But yeah, this year we wanted to get back to just classic horror, and so we just were like, all right, we want to do a demon and we want to do a vampire.
Yeah.
And so so that's those two characters.
Yeah, and we do have a few more things coming down the pipeline. We do have a mask that's in the sculpt room right now that was being worked on. We have another one that's in the pipeline, and a few of the two runners up from our design a mask contest from last year. We do still want to produce those masks as well as a few other designs that were submitted. So we're getting there. We definitely want to get a few more sculpts out this year. It's just a matter of timing, and with the virus right now, it's a little bit tricky, but we're managing and we're making it work.
So yeah, we have a skeleton crew in the shop right now. Obviously, the business is multifaceted, so we do a bunch of other stuff. And one of the projects that we do is considered an essential business. So the skeleton crew is in the shop. I'm in the shop every day with Kenny, the owner. Tabby is in every other day.
I'm doing a split schedule right
now.
now because I'm doing all the social media stuff. Some of it I can do from home, but there's a lot of back-end stuff, like making sure everything in stock is updated on the website, because we did have quite a few things that we didn't go to Transworld with. That are still available. We had a fantastic turnout for our sale that we had that week of what was Transworld. So we're really thankful for that. We're still trying to see if we can extend any other kind of discount to our customers right now because of the state of the world. We were doing free shipping, free domestic shipping. So I'm going to try to see if we can extend that through April. Just to, there's a lot of people who are interested in the product, but because of everything right now, they're like, oh, I don't know if I can afford that. So if we can, ease the burden of our customers a little bit, we're down to help, especially if it's something that they've been wanting for a while. We're all about feel good products in this time because we're all sitting at home bummed, and so you can always sit at home bummed in your mask and have a
Can't
good
wait for Halloween. Wait for Halloween.
Well, you guys don't just do masks, but you do gloves as well.
Yes,
we do.
Yes, we do.
And as well as body parts.
gloves.
Yes, actually, Josh has some body parts. Well, some that aren't his, actually.
No, I was just shaking it.
You're just shaking
because
it.
on the camera, all you can see is the hand shaking.
Oh.
So I'd be like, it's cut. And then we do like hearts.
Yeah, so we do silicone
Very
mask
realistic
gloves
stuff.
and props, and so we do silicone body parts. We have ears, eyes, tongues, brains, hearts, intestines.
I have a tongue. Have a tongue.
I brought a tongue home just for this, and I left it on the other side of the room. So
he's not gonna get up and get it. But yeah, so I mean, we have anatomically correct innards, as it were. We do stomachs too. So.
A lot of the escape rooms like to use our stuff because the silicone is so silicone is our specialty material. That's what all our stuff is almost made out of, and it's super durable. So an escape room can buy a heart like that and dunk it in water, disinfect it at the end of the show, so that way it's nice and clean. And so we do a lot of stuff like that. And then, people use them in classrooms.
Now, is all your guys' stuff new, or do people send you like stuff that they already have for you to modify or reinforce or anything like that?
We can do that kind of stuff. We are a full service shop, but we tend to produce new product and try to put new product out there. Again, we have a huge catalog of stuff. Between the 150 mask designs, we have the entire inside of the human body, every anatomical part from spleens to pancreas, brains, and we provide a lot of that kind of stuff for, like I said, for classroom learning. We do some resin stuff. We have a couple of in-house skulls that we produce for different entities.
But yeah, we don't do any refurbishments to resell per se. We do repairs. So if people have a silicone product, whether it's ours or not, that needs to be repaired, we can absolutely do that. But we don't. We had a mask buyback program for a little while, but it wasn't working for our business model at the time.
I'll be honest with you. People were. I don't know what people do to their masks sometimes. I guess they don't wash their masks. Some of the masks we would get back were literally biohazards. You would get it and open it up and be like, what is that? And just black mold and every nasty thing that you could find in it. So we canceled that program. It wasn't that we didn't want to do it. It's just that it was basically send us your trash and we'll throw it away for you.
Right.
And, we'll give you some credit on a new mask. So that wasn't working. But
you guys will be happy to know that I washed my mask after every performance.
Thank you.
It's super easy. Prints it out under the sink.
Barely inconvenience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people for like the haunts, a lot of people will ask us, "Oh, how do you wash the masks?" The video that we send, or that we've been sending people on how to wash masks, is a video that I shot when we worked for when we did our Haunted Hornet event out in the Bay Area. Right. And literally, it's me filling a 5-gallon bucket with Dawn dish soap and a little bit of water, and like I'm dredging 3 or 4 masks in and out of the water, and then I put it in a clean bucket and I dredge it. But that's what you do in volume if that's what you have accessible.
Sure.
But honestly, it's putting it like a quick bath in your tub or a sink, or honestly just wipe it out with baby wipes. Like especially if you're not doing anything like extensive in it. If like you're just sitting there and podcasting in it, you're not going to build up enough sweat that you need to do like a big heavy cleaning in. The haunt actors, or the people running around in costume.
I try to drink enough vodka that I just sweat out the vodka. It disinfects the mask automatically.
All right, there you go.
And I just, I'm not even going to rinse anything off. It'll go right back under the head for them. It'll be good.
Let me putting it on, so I'm not worried about it.
Let me tell you guys. When I wore that mask for an entire season, I was working at the Dent Schoolhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And I worked in the back, and at the time it was called Detention Hall. It was a big maze that I loved to play in. But on those hot nights, about every 30 minutes I'd step behind scenes and like drain a gallon of water out of my mask.
Oh yeah. No, they definitely get warm if you're not ready for it. They will pick up some heat.
Yeah, yes. Definitely something you got to ease into, and don't expect to go like full bore if you've never worn a silicone mask before and or in a warm environment. And most haunts are warm environments. I mean, unless you're out in a hayride, or in a cool atmosphere, which good for you, I guess. But yeah, I mean, they get warm, they get hot, and people ask us all the time, you know, like, how do you cut down the sweating? How do you cut down on the heat? And
Just
honestly,
drink more water.
It's staying hydrated and taking breaks as often as possible. You know, like you said, you have to take a step back behind the scenes and drain, or give yourself a quick minute to take the mask off and breathe, put it back on, and you're good to go. So that's the beauty of the masks. They're an easy on and easy off.
Yes.
So.
And the silicone masks, I mean, so realistic. I can't tell you how many times people were like, "Oh my God, that's real," and I'd even go touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they cringe when they touch it.
Oh yeah, no, I have a couple that have the big long ears, and yeah, that's my thing with kids. You know, they'll be scared, and I don't like. I like to scare everybody, but I don't like to scare the little kids. You know, I go easy on them, and so I'll let them come over and like pull my ear, and I can tell when they're touching the ear, and like, so I'll yelp like, oh my God, you pulled my ear, and yeah, they think it's real the entire time. They're like, oh my God, mommy, I touched his ear.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
It's a tactile experience. I mean, that's the whole point. Like you said, it's smooth, it's soft, and it's smooth, and it moves with you, and that's the whole point of the product. And so to get people to be like, no, touch my mask, you know, or touch my face, as it were, you know, it lends to that even more believability.
And people are blown away usually if you let them touch it, because they think it's going to be makeup, and so you know they're checking their hands to see like, oh, you're like, no, that's what you just touched.
Yeah.
So.
You know, a funny thing happened to me that same year. I was able to work not just inside the maze, but I also worked the queue line. I was in and out all night. Well, it was towards the end of the night, and I came up behind this couple, and they obviously been drinking. And I stalked up behind the woman, waiting for her to jump. She turned around, grabbed me, and kissed me full on the mouth.
Yeah.
It happens.
It happens at the haunts.
It happens.
But you know what? Because of that mask, her lips didn't touch mine at all.
Yeah, you were protected. Yeah, I've
a barrier.
I've had similar things happen. I got slapped one time. And so it hits the mask, and it's just kind of like, all right, a little bit of shock, but no sting.
Right.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, the masks are great. So I couldn't imagine a better company to work for right now. You know, it's been a really good experience so far. Yeah.
Well, I've always admired, you know, and it's like every year I just couldn't wait to log on to the website and see the latest masks, and kept thinking about, well, not this year, but I mean, your masks are not cheap.
Nope. No, they are an investment. That's for sure.
But they are well worth the money.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, like you said, your mask is from 2011. That's 9 years old.
Right.
How many latex masks are used in a haunted house and then survive that long?
Right.
Yeah. So that's the whole point. Yeah. You buy it, win a custom couple of costume contests with it, pay back all the money you invested in the mask.
Yeah. I got it all in scares.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, I get in trouble. Hold on, you can see kind of up there.
Oh wow,
that's not even all of them.
Yeah, no. So thank God I have a haunted house, and I get to use it as a tax write-off.
Lucky you.
All right.
Donnie, any questions for Tabby and Josh?
Yeah, I do have one, and it's there. I really don't think I could find a more perfect couple to ask this question to and get this advice from. Little quick background about me is I, like Jim explained before we went on air, I own a professional wrestling company in Columbus, Ohio, and I was a pro wrestler myself, early 90s, late 2000s, and up until last year, I for a couple years, we co-owned a haunted trail here in our area too. Nice. So I kind of wrestling and horrors and haunted house is what I do. But what I've done is I've taken my wrestling character from back in the day, and I'm working on a backstory for it and wrote a backstory for it and transformed it into a haunt character.
That's awesome.
And, yeah. So what I need, this guy right here, let me turn my light on. If people is just listening, they're not going to know, they're not going to have any idea what I'm talking about here. But this is my wrestling character's mask. It was actually made by Tony Rosen, who created Annabelle.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the skull is just obviously just something to keep it shaped, but it's rat skins. It's basically rat skins with the rat tails.
I love that.
And it's all sewn together because he was in the sewer. He ends up escaping from an insane asylum, going into the sewer. So he put on the rat skin mask. What I'm finding out, it's silicone, it's professional movie quality grade, all that. What I found out is it works great when I was doing my haunt character. But once I would get sweaty and start sweating, it would get loose. And like this part would start coming off my chin. And but I also thought about like if I could ever bring this character to life to using small segments like on a wrestling promotion, what could I do to this besides taking a pro wrestling mask and somehow gluing it to the inside to reinforce it? The only thing in the back really is just this stitching, if you can see.
Yeah,
like
so that's where the looseness is coming from. So in a silicone mask, what you're looking for to get it, again, this is not a good example because obviously it's only covering half my face.
Right.
But, to get it to move, you need it to be able to grip a good section of your head. That way it can get some traction. And you can see this one kind of ends right there. So really what you'd be looking is that bottom section. And again, this is just from what I can visually see on the computer screen right now.
Yeah.
Some possibly additional stitching in the back or even a strap in the back.
Okay.
Now the key is how are you going to get that strap to attach to a silicone mask that nothing sticks to silicone.
Right.
Reach out to Tabitha. We can. I'll walk you through the process a little bit. It's a little bit complicated, unless you want me to go on the air right now with everything. Give us a call. We can definitely walk you through it. We do modifications like that all the time. Definitely. It's just a matter of it's getting loose on your face once you start getting a little bit
once I get sweaty and stuff, and like the tails are kind of heavy. Yep. So if I was to ever bump in it, or if I was to like sling my head forward, I'm sure if I was sweating, it would probably just slide right off. Yeah. Even like in the haunt when I was doing my scene, if I turned my head too quick, like the chin part would slide up, and I'd have to pull it back down real fast.
Now they do make adhesive. It's called a telesis, and they have certain numbers. I'm not sure what number they're up to right now. They discontinued one telesis, and I think it's like telesis 7 or something like that now. But it is an adhesive, and it goes on your skin, and it goes on the inside of the mask.
It's a silicone adhesive, so it works with silicone appliances or in masks. In this case, especially if you're finding like some slippage happening.
So if I was going to film something, and I wanted it to be the production quality to be over the top, I would use some telesis on the inside of the mask, and that would glue it to my cheekbones, and that way I can get much better action out of it. But that there's a removal process for that as well. You can't just go and take the mask.
Tear it off.
You do have to use remover for that, otherwise you're going to be hurting.
But it works very well. I know that in Europe, a lot of times, the masker community in Europe is really big, and that's basically a lot of men that like to put on female masks and run around, and they'll use telesis so that way they get that super good.
Close contact. Even more close contact than what, especially for our products, they're designed that way. But especially sometimes the lips may not stick, like especially if you're getting sweaty 100% of the time, so you'll get a little bit of slippage. If you want to prevent that from ever happening, then that's what something like telesis would be for. But in haunts, we don't usually recommend that. For most times, we don't recommend that. It's mainly for, like you were saying, if you were trying to cut a promo in that regard, it would be that way you don't run into that risk of it slipping out.
Right. Yeah, because I thought about just trying to attach like another chin strap to kind of just hold it down, but I don't know. I mean, that would kind of look kind of cheesy, I think, unless it was.
I think in my opinion, like Josh said, I think it's a tension, but it's just that you can't get it tight enough with that strapping or that
rope.
Tie.
Yeah, because I tried to tighten it up, but it looked like it was starting to tear, so I stopped.
As you can see on Josh's, how it's like complete all the way 360. There's no like adjustment, there's no strapping, there's no seaming.
So it's the silicone itself, and I'm just stretching to get into it, and then it vacuums over to my face. And with yours, like I said, I like the stitching in the back. It'd be possible to put some grommets in it.
Yeah, should be able to. Yeah, like I said, the stitching wasn't more to tie it on. It was more for the look, to where he just made it, and he kind of found a piece of twine to tie the skins together, kind of thing.
Maybe you could continue that look down, so that way it doesn't take away from the look of the mask, because it's such a good looking mask. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, reach out to Tabitha. I'm sure we can come up with a couple of different solutions for you.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Thank you.
I got to say, I can't appreciate it more when somebody says cutting a promo and you know what they're talking about.
All right.
Gotcha.
And I got a promo I'm going to be cutting for our promotion soon. Donnie just doesn't know about it.
No.
Now.
Yep. Send it in. We'll get it up.
Well, it's I'll explain it to you. It's a convoluted idea of mine, since I'm not ring ready. But anyway, Tabby, Josh, you guys have been great. I mean, this really has gone longer than most of our shows go, and it's been all compelling conversation and a lot of back and forth. So it's been awesome. But what I want to do now is give you guys an opportunity to do all the social media plugging for the show, for Composite Effects and everything else.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of great conversations, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more in future ones. But yeah, so we work for Composite Effects. We do professional silicone mask, gloves, body parts, and everything else in between. You can find us at cfxmasks.com. That's our website. On Facebook, we're Composite Effects. On Instagram, we are CFX Masks. On YouTube, we are also CFX Masks. And on Twitter, we are CFX Unmasked.
Just to confuse you a little
bit. Just to make it just much more complicated for you to find us. If you have CFX products, we love seeing your guys' products. We do creature features every week, usually on Wednesdays. So you can tag us at Composite Effects or use the hashtag CFX Masks, and we'll feature your creature, as it were. And we're always posting new content on our Facebook and Instagram and social media pages. We're trying to see if we can get like a monthly or a weekly live video going in this time when it's a little bit slower. Definitely trying to revamp our YouTube page, get a few more interactive videos up there, making sure we have all of the movement videos for our masks up there. And all that good stuff. But yeah,
I would love to do a feature like every week with a different mask. And we have a few different people to shop, so it wouldn't always be me, just to let everyone know off the bat. But all right, maybe it'll always be me in the mask. But I would love to go and create different characters for all these masks, and talk to people and do some different stuff. And, that's us.
I think I'm going to have to send you guys a picture of me and my mask.
Yes.
You should.
Please do.
I will do that. I will forward one over to you in the next day or so.
Yeah, if you have my email, so feel free to send it to me. But otherwise, it's info@compositeeffects.com. Or you can send us in the messages on any of the social media channels. I'll get that, and I'll make sure it gets shared and posted.
Cool. All right. Well, it's been one of the more lively conversations, and I can't say enough about that. I love a good banter, and that's what we had tonight. So again, Tabby, Josh, thank you so much for being a part of Wrestle Horror, for loving the horror business, for loving the wrestling business. What else can you say? They're hand in hand. They tie together.
Absolutely.
More people need to understand that.
More weird people, the better, in my opinion.
Wrestling and horror rocks.
Yeah. All right, Donnie, I'm signing off now. Tabby, Josh, thank you so much.
Not a problem. Thank you guys again so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media outlets. Facebook.com/WrestleHorror, Instagram @WrestleHorror, Twitter @WrestleHorror, on our YouTube channel, the Wrestle Horror channel. Also, you can find us at www.wrestlehorror.com.